If you're a man over 60, there's a hidden habit in your daily life that could be silently destroying your prostate health. And the truth is, it's not what you think. Most men overlook it, yet it's the very reason prostate problems become so common after 60. Today, I'm going to reveal what this habit is, why it's so dangerous, and, most importantly, how you can reverse the damage starting today. The hidden habit that is quietly eroding the prostate health of men over the age of 60 is something so common and so ingrained in daily routines that it often goes unnoticed, sitting for long hours every single day. At first glance, sitting does not seem harmful. It is comfortable, it is convenient, and for many men, it is a natural part of work, relaxation, or even social interaction. Yet beneath this everyday habit lies a cascade of biological consequences that build silently over time. The human body was designed for movement, for circulation, for activity, and when it is locked in a sedentary posture for extended periods, especially in the later decades of life, it pays a heavy price. When you sit for prolonged hours, the circulation to your lower body and pelvic region slows dramatically. Blood flow that should be delivering oxygen and nutrients to tissues becomes restricted, and the areas surrounding the prostate begin to experience subtle stagnation. Over time, this sluggish circulation creates an environment where inflammation can take root and persist. Inflammation, once established, becomes a driver of cellular stress within the prostate, leading to swelling, enlargement, and discomfort that many men mistakenly attribute simply to aging. The reality is that aging does not force the prostate into decline. Lifestyle habits, particularly prolonged inactivity, are the true culprits. In addition to circulation and inflammation, the hormonal balance of the body is disrupted by extended sitting. Testosterone, a critical hormone for men, becomes less efficiently regulated in those who remain inactive, while estrogen levels may rise in comparison. This imbalance exerts further pressure on the prostate, which is highly sensitive to hormonal shifts. The combined effect of poor circulation, chronic inflammation, and disrupted hormone signaling sets the stage for the prostate to weaken, enlarge, and become vulnerable to disease. What makes this habit so insidious is how subtle its effects are. No man feels immediate discomfort from sitting for 3 or 4 hours without moving. In fact, the body adjusts and adapts, tricking the mind into believing the habit is harmless. Yet as the months and years pass, the slow deterioration accumulates. The bladder feels the impact as frequent nighttime trips become more common, the urinary flow weakens, and the sense of vitality begins to fade. These are not inevitable consequences of age. They are direct results of how a daily habit deprives the body of what it most needs: movement, circulation, and renewal. Prolonged sitting has a far greater impact on the body than most men realize, especially once they cross the age of 60. The simple act of staying in a chair for hours at a time sets off a chain of biological changes that ripple through the entire system. And 3 of the most damaging effects are reduced circulation, chronic inflammation, and hormonal disruption. These 3 factors work hand in hand, slowly breaking down the health of the prostate and creating conditions that make urinary issues, enlargement, and even more serious diseases much more likely. When circulation slows from too much sitting, the pelvic region is one of the first areas to suffer. The lower body depends on steady blood flow to deliver oxygen, nutrients, and immune cells that repair tissue and clear away waste. But when the body remains locked in the same position, circulation becomes sluggish and stagnant. Blood pools in the legs, while the pelvic area receives less of the oxygen-rich supply it needs to function properly. Over time, this stagnation begins to starve the prostate of the nutrients it requires to stay strong and healthy. Without movement to pump fresh blood through the vessels, waste products and toxins linger, further irritating the tissues around the gland and setting the stage for long-term damage. Hand in hand with poor circulation comes the problem of inflammation. The prostate is a highly sensitive organ, and when it is deprived of steady blood flow, small injuries and stresses that would normally heal begin to linger. The immune system responds with a low-grade inflammatory reaction that does not switch off. This chronic inflammation may not cause sharp pain at first, but it creates a constant state of irritation within the prostate. Inflammation triggers swelling, which presses against the urethra, leading to weaker urine flow, frequent urges, and the sensation of never fully emptying the bladder. More importantly, inflammation produces harmful molecules that damage cells and weaken the gland's resilience, making it far more vulnerable to disease progression as men age. On top of these issues, prolonged sitting interferes with the delicate hormonal balance that governs prostate health. Testosterone levels, already declining naturally with age, are further suppressed by inactivity, while estrogen activity can increase in relative strength. This imbalance fuels prostate growth and disrupts its normal function. The gland itself is hormonally driven, which means that even small shifts in balance between testosterone, dihydrotestosterone, and estrogen can have major consequences. Scientific evidence has increasingly confirmed that sedentary living is not just a matter of poor fitness or weight gain. It is directly connected to serious risks for prostate health, including enlargement and even prostate cancer. Large-scale studies following thousands of men over many years have found a clear association between the number of hours spent sitting and the likelihood of developing prostate problems. Researchers have observed that men who remain seated for 6 hours or more each day are significantly more likely to report urinary difficulties, experience prostate enlargement, and face higher chances of being diagnosed with prostate cancer compared to men who maintain a more active lifestyle. These findings remain consistent across different populations, reinforcing the idea that the risks are not limited to a single group but apply broadly to aging men everywhere. One reason the evidence is so compelling is that it does not rely solely on observation, but also on the measurable biological changes that sedentary behavior causes. Medical imaging has shown that sedentary men often exhibit increased pelvic congestion, which is linked to prostate swelling. Blood tests reveal higher levels of inflammatory markers in those who spend long hours inactive, and inflammation is known to be a key driver of abnormal cell growth within the gland. Additionally, hormonal testing shows that sedentary living alters the balance of sex hormones in ways that directly encourage prostate tissue growth. Taken together, these findings explain why sitting has such a strong connection to enlargement and why cancer risk becomes elevated in those who do not regularly move their bodies. What makes these studies even more striking is that the risk persists even in men who exercise once a day, but still spend most of their remaining time sitting. In other words, a single workout cannot fully erase the harm caused by 10 or 12 hours of immobility. This highlights the importance of consistent daily movement, small breaks from sitting, and ongoing activity throughout the day, rather than relying solely on gym sessions. The prostate, being highly vascular and hormonally sensitive, requires steady circulation and regular stimulation to maintain its health. And without it, cellular stress begins to accumulate in ways that science has now linked to both benign enlargement and malignancy. Simple lifestyle changes have the power to transform prostate health, even in men well past the age of 60. The body responds remarkably well when given the right conditions, and the prostate, despite being highly sensitive to poor habits, is equally responsive to positive ones. One of the most effective steps is incorporating small, consistent breaks of movement throughout the day. Research shows that standing up and walking for just 5 minutes every hour significantly improves circulation to the pelvic region, which helps deliver oxygen, nutrients, and immune support to the prostate. These short bursts of movement also prevent the blood from pooling in the lower body, reducing inflammation and supporting hormone balance. For men who find long workouts intimidating, this approach is not only practical, but also highly effective, since the real goal is steady activity rather than occasional, intense exercise. Alongside movement, the role of diet is equally critical. Foods rich in natural anti-inflammatory compounds help protect the prostate at the cellular level. Tomatoes, for instance, contain lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that accumulates in prostate tissue and reduces oxidative stress. Green tea provides catechins that actively lower inflammation and support hormonal balance. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts contain sulforaphane, which helps the body detoxify and neutralize harmful substances that could otherwise damage prostate cells. Even simple additions, like a handful of nuts rich in omega-3 fatty acids or berries packed with flavonoids, can create an internal environment that resists inflammation and slows prostate enlargement. Hydration also plays a surprisingly important role in maintaining prostate health. Drinking enough water helps flush toxins through the urinary tract, reducing irritation to the bladder and prostate. On the other hand, limiting excessive alcohol, sugary drinks, and highly processed foods prevents inflammation from being triggered repeatedly. Just as the wrong foods can silently fuel prostate problems, the right foods and fluids can shield the gland from unnecessary stress. Equally important is avoiding long stretches of inactivity in daily life. Gentle stretching while watching television, standing during phone calls, or even choosing stairs over elevators keeps the body in a state of regular activity. These simple habits do not require expensive equipment or drastic lifestyle overhauls. Instead, they build a foundation of movement, circulation, and nutrition that directly supports the prostate. The key is consistency. Small choices made repeatedly throughout the day add up to a powerful protective effect. Prostate wellness after 60 is not something left entirely to chance or genetics. It is largely a matter of daily choices. While many men assume that prostate problems are an unavoidable part of aging, the truth is that the gland responds directly to lifestyle patterns. Inactivity creates weakness, stagnation, and vulnerability, while regular movement brings circulation, strength, and protection. Choosing to replace sedentary habits with active ones is a powerful way to regain control, even if challenges have already begun. The body has an extraordinary capacity to recover, and the prostate in particular benefits almost immediately when blood flow improves and inflammation is reduced through consistent activity. When men past 60 commit to incorporating movement into their day, they often notice changes that extend beyond the prostate itself. Energy levels begin to rise, metabolism becomes more efficient, and weight control becomes easier. Each of these improvements feeds directly back into prostate health. Excess weight, especially around the midsection, is strongly linked to hormonal imbalance and inflammation that burden the gland. By choosing activity, men reduce abdominal fat, restore balance to testosterone, and reduce the estrogenic effects that drive prostate growth. These shifts may feel gradual, but they create a long-term environment in which the prostate can thrive instead of deteriorate. Replacing inactivity with movement does not require extreme exercise or high-intensity routines. For many men, the most effective strategies are the simplest. Walking daily, stretching gently, or practicing light resistance exercises that strengthen the core and lower body. Activities like gardening, climbing stairs, or standing while reading are more powerful than they may appear because they consistently interrupt the cycle of sitting that drives prostate stress. Each decision to move, however small, is a signal to the body to restore circulation, reduce congestion in the pelvic region, and supply the prostate with the oxygen and nutrients it needs. The sense of control that comes from these lifestyle shifts is also deeply psychological. Men often feel helpless when faced with frequent nighttime trips to the bathroom, reduced urinary strength, or the worry of more serious conditions. But when they learn that simple choices, standing up more often, eating prostate-friendly foods, keeping the body in motion, can directly change the health of the gland, they begin to feel empowered again. Prostate wellness after 60 is not about avoiding age, but about making intentional decisions every day that support vitality, strength, and balance from within.